The morning mist hung heavy over Clear Lake, California on May 15, 1850. A peaceful quiet settled over the lake. Unbeknownst to the Pomo people living on a small island, this tranquility masked a looming horror. A band of white men, fueled by greed and racism, approached the island silently in boats. They carried guns and murderous intent. As dawn broke, the men stormed the village, firing indiscriminately. Screams pierced the air as men, women, and children were cut down. This was the Bloody Island Massacre, a day forever etched in infamy. The massacre on the island, later called Bloody Island, was a horrifying act of violence. It was a culmination of years of escalating tensions between settlers and California's indigenous people. The discovery of gold in 1848 brought a flood of newcomers to the region. This ignited a volatile mix of greed, prejudice, and a disregard for Native American lives. The Bloody Island Massacre stands as a stark reminder of the darkest impulses of humanity and the devastating consequences of unchecked hatred. The years between 1830 and 1863 marked a dark period for Native Americans in California. The arrival of Spanish missionaries in the 18th century had already disrupted their way of life. However, the influx of American settlers during the gold rush intensified the pressure on native populations. Fueled by a sense of manifest destiny, many settlers viewed Native Americans as obstacles to progress. This prejudice quickly manifested itself in discriminatory laws and policies. The Act for the Government and Protection of Indians, passed in 1850, legalized the enslavement of Native Americans. It also stripped them of their land rights and subjected them to forced labor. This created a climate of vulnerability and fear. Native Americans had little protection against exploitation and violence at the hands of settlers. The story of the Bloody Island Massacre is intricately tied to two men, Charles Stone and Andrew Kelsey. Stone and Kelsey arrived in California during the gold rush, eager to capitalize on the opportunities of the frontier. They established a ranch near Clear Lake and began exploiting the labor of the local Pomo people. The Pomo, already struggling to survive in the face of displacement and disease, were forced to work for Stone and Kelsey under brutal conditions. Stone and Kelsey were notorious for their cruelty. They routinely beat and starved the Pomo people under their control. They viewed the Pomo as less than human and treated them with utter contempt. The growing resentment towards Stone and Kelsey, fueled by their inhumane treatment, created a powder keg ready to explode. Section 4. Chief Benson's Tale, a first-hand account of the massacre. The horrors of the Bloody Island Massacre are best understood through the words of those who survived it. Chief William Benson, a young Pomo boy at the time, later recounted the harrowing events of that day. He described hiding in the Tule reeds as gunfire erupted, the air thick with the smell of gunpowder and the screams of his people. Benson's testimony paints a chilling picture of the massacre's brutality. He described how the attackers showed no mercy, killing men, women, and children indiscriminately. Those who tried to escape by swimming were shot in the water. The serene island, once a place of peace and community, was transformed into a scene of unimaginable carnage. Section 5. The Bloody Aftermath. Despair and dispossession on Clear Lake. The immediate aftermath of the Bloody Island Massacre was one of utter devastation for the Pomo people. The waters around the island ran red with blood. The air was filled with the stench of death. Those who survived were left to grieve their loved ones and rebuild their shattered lives. The massacre had a profound impact on the Pomo way of life. Their sense of security was destroyed. Their traditional lands were further encroached upon by settlers emboldened by the violence. The Bloody Island Massacre marked a turning point in the history of the Pomo people, ushering in an era of profound loss and dispossession.